Good morning, everyone. When I first heard I had to speak on the theme Beneath the Silicon, I was utterly stumped. I had literally no idea what the theme meant. And so I decided to turn to Google. I searched up periodic table of elements, and it turns out that 3 rows beneath silicon in the periodic table is lead. So, I concluded that I needed to talk about the lead that is beneath the silicon. The next step in my quest was to brush up on the history of lead. It turns out that during medieval times, a large number of early scientists devoted their lives to the practice of alchemy, a precursor of modern chemistry. The fundamental objective of alchemy was to convert lead into gold. They believed that base metals like lead were impure and attempted to transmute it into pure and valuable metals like gold. And so, I stand before you today to talk about the lead that is beneath the silicon and how one can convert it to gold. Silicon has a myriad of applications. The vast stretches of silica sand that line beaches around the world can be heated to form glass. It can be crushed and mixed to form cement. But perhaps the most groundbreaking application of silicon, one so remarkable that these centuries are called the Silicon Age, that the largest technology hub in the world was christened Silicon Valley, is that silicon is a primary ingredient in the manufacture of semiconductors, which is a crucial component of the computer. It was thus that silicon became regarded as a metaphor for AI and technology as a whole. So, with that analogy, the lead that is beneath the silicon would equate to the demerits, the disadvantages, the dangers of technology. Likewise, the coveted gold would symbolize the advantages or benefits of technology. And so, in this talk, I attempt to turn lead into gold, to turn bane into boon, to turn poison into elixir. I'm Gagan Sreekumar, and today I will talk about embracing AI with caution. We are in the middle of an AI revolution, and so it is important for us to learn how we can negate the disadvantages of this technology and maximize its benefits. So, let us consider how AI and technology are affecting one of the fundamental aspects of the human being, the mind, of how AI is shaping the very way we think. Before the advent of the smartphone, that is, when the telephone reigned supreme, my grandparents could remember the phone numbers of all their friends, neighbors, and relatives by heart. But today, as the phone has crept its way into the pockets of people around the world, my grandparents now hardly bother to remember these numbers. In fact, I'm pretty sure this problem is not just limited to a few people. Let me ask you guys a question. Answer truthfully, and if your answer is yes, raise your hands. Do you remember the phone numbers of any 7 people close to you? Friends, neighbors, relatives? Raise your hands. Okay, I see about 20. So it appears a lot of us suffer from the same problem. You must be asking, why would I bother to remember them if our phones can store hundreds of such numbers? In fact, why learn directions if Google Maps can guide you through hundreds of roads? Why bother with addition and subtraction if a common calculator can solve hundreds of problems? Why learn the spellings of words if autocorrect can rectify hundreds of your mistakes? This problem can be better explained with an example. We must all have seen, and I'm pretty sure a large chunk of the audience aspires for it, we have seen that when people hit the gym regularly, when they exercise often, they slowly start gaining muscles. Their biceps start bulging, their arms gain definition. But what happens if they stop? What happens if they forgo the gym entirely, if they cease to regularly exercise? Well, we observe that they slowly start losing their hard-earned muscles. This phenomenon is not just limited to the body, but is also observed quite often in the brain. And it can be explained by a scientific concept called neuroplasticity. Simply put, if we do not regularly practice a skill, we stand at the risk of losing that skill entirely. As the maxim goes, we can either use it or lose it. As it is so perfectly put by verse 8 of chapter 8 of the Chanakya Niti, Hatam jnanam kriyahinam, hatam ajnanato nara, hatam nirnayakam sainyam, striyo nashtahya bhartruka. Which translates, in part, to just like a man is lost due to ignorance, just like an army is lost without a commander, similarly, without practice, even our knowledge is lost. We often observe but just as often ignore this principle. Our fluency in any language will diminish if we do not speak in that language often enough. Our gifted talent in a sport will erode away if we do not play regularly enough. Our writing skill will tarnish if we do not put pen to paper frequently enough. In the movie WALL-E, robots cater to every want and need of the human race. And so, the humans lost their ability to do anything except eat and sleep. In fact, this example hits quite close to the observation that I want to make. If we give over to AI on the pretext of being efficient or saving time, the task of solving a math problem or writing an essay, then we are, in effect, allowing those neurons in the brain to sit idle. In fact, a recent study by MIT proved exactly the same thing. Participants who used ChatGPT to write their essays showed an astonishing 47% decline in their brain connectivity as compared to those who wrote without AI. As I said, use it or lose it. Frequent disuse weakens the neural connections in the brain. What does that mean? Well, listen carefully, this is important. It means, simply put, that if we repeatedly turn to AI, we stand at the risk of losing our own creative and critical thinking abilities. And if we cannot think and dream, how are we humans different from all the other animals on this earth? Mark my words, at the pace at which technology is advancing today, in no less than 10 years, we will be left with an entire generation of humans who cannot think at all. So the next time you turn to ChatGPT to solve a math problem, ask yourself whether it's worth losing your mental solving abilities. And the next time you turn to Gemini to write an essay, think for a moment whether it's worth losing your creativity skills. The next time you turn to Perplexity to do some research, ponder for a second whether it's worth losing your critical thinking faculties. So what is it that I'm telling you to do? Am I telling you to abandon AI entirely? No, of course not. AI is a revolutionary tool which can boost your productivity many times over. In fact, when ChatGPT first came out, I was beyond excited. And soon I found myself in a state where I was using it almost every day. Even if I wanted to look up something trivial, I turned to AI. After learning Python in grade 10, I was eager to explore some more, and so, naturally, I turned to ChatGPT. I typed in a prompt, clicked enter, and I remember thinking, wow, this is great. A neat block of code had appeared in under 5 seconds, and with one click of the nice convenient copy button, I could execute it. And it worked every time. I never read through the code, never even tweaked a single line. Why bother? I was getting working code with zero effort. But then one day, the code it generated threw up an error. Shocked, I asked ChatGPT what had gone wrong. But despite asking it repeatedly, the AI was unable to rectify its mistake. Frustrated, I decided to look through the code myself and was stunned to see that the solution was, in fact, quite simple. The AI missed something obvious which I could fix in seconds. In that moment, I realized that the AI wasn't the expert here. I was. It dawned on me then that the solution lies in using AI as an assistant rather than as a master. Instead of asking it to write an essay, ask it for the key points to cover. Instead of asking it to solve a problem, ask it to explain a concept. Instead of asking it to code an app, ask it for suggestions on how to improve it. Ultimately, in an exam, what matters most is not how fast you pen down an answer, but how well written your answers are. The thing is, AI may generate a speech in under a minute, but it always turns out a repetitive, monotonous text with no new ideas to share at all. But the gift of the human brain is that it's dynamic, it's ever-changing, it's constantly adapting. And that makes us humans uniquely suited to think outside the box, to find innovative solutions to complex problems. And that's where AI can never beat us. As stated by novelist and playwright Albert Hubbard, one machine can do the work of 50 ordinary men, but no machine can do the work of one extraordinary man. So, we need a way to use AI effectively, if not efficiently, so that we stand out like a glowing bulb among a box of defective ones. And that solution is to make AI play the devil's advocate. Whatever task or problem you have to solve, spend a minute forming an idea on your own. It doesn't matter if your idea is weird or unrealistic or even outright bad. What's important is that it's your own idea. Then, turn to AI and ask it what's wrong with the idea. Maybe you overlooked an important detail or you stumbled into a loophole. Thus, by asking AI to play devil's advocate, that is, by asking it to criticize your ideas, you give your mind more avenues to think from. It lets you shift your perspective and refine your idea. It forces you to think about the pros and cons, to critically analyze a reasoning. It allows you to straighten out the wrinkles in your plans, identify the errors in your code, rectify the blind spots in your research, and ultimately allows you to transform from the dull lead to the shimmering gold. Thank you.